don't get me started. I could do the rest of the show on the 13th, the 13 people, soldiers who died in Afghanistan 3 years ago. And the spin on the part of the Democrats with regard to how all of this happened. Let's make no mistake. Donald Trump recognized the importance and, well, not even importance. Let me strike that word and replace it with another. Donald Trump, as our 45th president of the United States, understood the futility of attempting to build a nation that was not recognized by the people that lived there. Afghanistan isn't really recognized by most of the people that live there as a nation unto itself. These are tribal people who separate themselves mostly along religious lines, Muslim sect lines, Sunnis and Shiites, etc., Kurds. And they don't recognize, or at least they recognize only as artificial, the quote-unquote territorial boundaries of Afghanistan. They also don't understand freedom in the same fashion that we do. And a lot of that has to do with the radicalization of their religious faith, but, I mean, that's an entirely different subject for another day. We were attacked on September 11th, 2001, and a recognition of that attack merited a response. And respond we did. And rightly or wrongly, say what you will, part of the response was to go into Afghanistan, individuals that gave safe harbor to Osama bin Laden and others, and we were going to hold those individuals to account, and we did, and we have. A recognition that any future efforts in that region would come to nothing, meaning you only stabilize that region so long as you have military control over said region. And once you lose that military control, you lose the region. Well, then what are we doing? We are spilling blood and sweat and tears to no avail. And Donald Trump understood that too. There's no shame in that recognition, except in as much as we have spent a tremendous amount of money and a tremendous amount of years trying to deny that basic truth. I do not believe that there is any shame whatsoever in deciding that it's time to withdraw our boots on the ground in Afghanistan, and I was fully in favor of it. As a matter of fact, for those that have listened to me for lengths of time, you know that since 2015, I have been in favor of ending our relationship in that region of the world, fortifying our relationships in other parts of the world to make sure that a terrorist footprint will not be expanded beyond that region, and making sure that they understand that any effort to harm America or American interests will be met with force and finality. And Donald Trump was doing that. And we've much talked about his meeting with one of the Taliban leaders, and this was while he was still president of the United States, while they were attempting to formulate a withdrawal plan. Donald Trump said, you will not harm any one of our Americans. From now until the point that we withdraw, there will be no harm come to Americans, American interests, American allies. And if you harm any of our allies, I will kill you. It has been a well-documented moment in time where Donald Trump said, as president of the United States of America, to representatives of Afghan leadership, Taliban leadership, I will kill you. And I know exactly where you are. And lo and behold, nary an American hair on nary an American head was harmed. And then an election happened, and Joe Biden became president of the United States. And Joe Biden, who infamously claimed that not one soldier has been killed on his watch, watched as 13 soldiers were killed because of the disaster that was the Afghanistan pullout. and now they're trying to rewrite history. Well, we won't let them. And by the way, their current candidate for president of the United States, the one that replaced the failure of a candidate in the form of Joe Biden, she had a few things to say about Afghanistan as well.
Afghanistan.
Yes.
Were you the last person in the room?
Yes.
And you feel comfortable?
I do.
Dozens were killed when multiple bombs went off near Kabul's Hamid Karzai airport Thursday.
We know that at least 13 U.S. service members were killed in the blast.
He claimed that on his watch, we have not lost any American troops. The lives of no American troops have been lost as long as he's been president. Obviously, that is not true. Apparently, he's already forgotten about the 13 American heroes who were lost with his disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. These are their names, Mr. President. These are their names. Marine Staff Sergeant Taylor Hoover. Marine Sergeant Johanny Rosario Pichardo. Marine Sergeant Nicole G. Marine Corporal Hunter Lopez. Marine Corporal Dagan Page. Marine Corporal Humberto Sanchez. Marine Lance Corporal David Espinoza. Marine Lance Corporal Jared Schmitz. Marine Lance Corporal Riley McCollum. Marine Lance Corporal Dylan Marola. Marine Lance Corporal Kareem Nakui. Navy Petty Officer 3rd Class Maxton Soviak. Army Staff Sergeant Ryan Knaus. We will honor their memory.
That video and audio was brought out by the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, to commemorate the loss of 13 Americans whose names he just read to you. The President of the United States, infamously in his debate on June 27th, said that we had not lost anyone under his watch. A part of the video put out by the Speaker of the House included, and you could not see it, obviously, if you're listening on radio, it included Joe Biden standing on the tarmac looking at his watch. 3 years ago. 3 years ago. Now, I suppose that you and I could get into a debate about whether or not we should have been in Afghanistan. And I suppose that you and I could get into a debate, if we disagree on some of these matters, about when we should have left Afghanistan. Or if we should have left Afghanistan. And that's perfectly reasonable. There is no debate about how this happened. There is no debate that it was an absolute disaster. And any leftist or Democrat, but I repeat myself, that attempts to put lipstick on this pig is doing just that. This was awful. On its face, it was awful. The very fact that we lost 13 brave Americans, that's awful. But if you dig beneath the surface just a little bit, if you peel back a couple of additional layers to the onion, just a little bit, you'll learn that it gets even worse. At the time, we knew that hundreds of Americans, maybe even thousands of Americans, were being left behind. Now, once again, I'm willing to academically debate all of this with you, any of you. But the fact of the matter is, the United States of America made commitments. We made commitments to the people in that country, non-Americans in that country. We told them that they have our word. That if they assisted us, that we would be there for them on the back end. I'm talking about, and I get emotional when I talk about this, assets on the ground. People who were not blessed to be born in this country. People who had the burden of being born in a war-torn region. A region of the world that does not understand freedom in the same fashion that we understand it. But those individuals did. There were Afghanis, 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million, 6 million, 7 million, 8 million, 9 million, 10 million, 11 million, 12 million, 13 million, 14 million, 15 million, 16 million, 17 million, 18 million, 19 million, 20 million, 21 million, 22 million, 23 million, 24 million, 25 million, 26 million, 27 million, 28 million, 29 million, 30 million, 31 million, 32 million, 33 million, 34 million, 35 million, 36 million, 37 million, 38 million, 39 million, 40 million, 41 million, 42 million, 43 million, 44 million, 45 million, 46 million, 47 million, 48 million, 49 million, 50 million, 51 million, 52 million, 53 million, 54 million, 55 million, 56 million, 57 million, 58 million, 59 million, 60 million, 61 million, 62 million, 63 that took America's side and took us at our word that we would be there for them, that they would not be harmed. And we left those people to die. Obviously, we think about our military friends. Obviously, we think about the members of the military, the soldiers and others, the Marines that died that day. And God bless them and their families. But I also, in a larger sense, think about the hundreds, if not thousands of people who assisted the United States of America, who took up arms against terrorists, who helped us in that region of the world, who mapped out places for us, who told us where the bad guys were, who translated for us, who were slaughtered because of Joe Biden. Slaughtered. It's disgusting. A little callback here. I wouldn't treat a mouse that way. And Joe Biden just sat in his office and allowed it to happen because he did the one thing you can't do. You don't pull the military out before you get the civilians out. You dumbass. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. You dumb butt. Is that better? I shouldn't curse. I get upset about it. These high-level, I know I've got to go to a break. These high-level negotiations, you're talking about assets on the ground that are vital to the interests that we say we seek. And you look them, our men and our women in the United States military looked them in the eye and they said, you do this for us, my friend, and we've got your back. You help us out, and we will not betray you. And because of Joe Biden, we did. And it's sick that anybody would believe Kamala Harris today about anything having to do with Afghanistan. And she is proud of the fact that she was the last person in the room.